Have you ever imagined that one single domestic rugby match could completely change the future of the All Blacks? Because that's exactly what is happening right now. After spending years away from New Zealand rugby, Richie Mo'unga is finally back. But here's the twist. Despite being one of the best fly halves in world rugby, he still isn't eligible to wear the famous black jersey. Not because he's injured. Not because he's out of form. Not because the coaches don't want him. Instead, everything depends on just one national provincial championship match with Canterbury. One game. 90 minutes. And that could decide whether Richie Mo'unga joins the All Blacks for one of their biggest tours of the year. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Dave Rennie has already hinted that the door isn't completely closed. If something happens, if there's an injury, if the opportunity appears, Richie Mo'unga could suddenly be back in the national squad. The question is New Zealand about to welcome back one of its greatest playmakers? Or has rugby moved on without him? Stay with us because this story has huge implications for the future of the All Blacks. And by the end of this video you'll understand why rugby fans across New Zealand are watching one NPC match more closely than almost any international fixture. For years, Richie Mo'unga has been one of the most exciting players to wear the black jersey. His vision, his speed, his decision-making under pressure, and his ability to create opportunities from almost nothing made him one of the most feared fly halves in international rugby. Whether it was wearing the colors of the Crusaders or representing the All Blacks, Richie Mo'unga became known as the player who could change a match with one moment of brilliance. Between 2017 and 2023, he was at the heart of the Crusaders' incredible era of dominance. 7 consecutive Super Rugby titles. An achievement almost impossible in the modern professional game. Throughout those championship years, Richie Mo'unga wasn't just another player in the squad. He was the conductor of the attack. The calm voice in pressure moments. The player teammates trusted when championships were on the line. Then came one of the biggest career decisions of his life. After the 2023 Rugby World Cup, Richie Mo'unga accepted a lucrative move to Japan, joining Toshiba Brave Lupus. Like many elite New Zealand players before him, he chose the opportunity to experience a different rugby culture while securing his future. The move made complete sense professionally, but it also came with a major consequence. Under New Zealand Rugby's long-standing selection policy, players based overseas are generally unavailable for All Black selection. That meant one of the country's best playmakers suddenly disappeared from the international picture. Fans debated the rule. Some believed New Zealand had to protect its domestic competitions. Others argued that the best players should always represent the national team, regardless of where they play. For months the debate continued. And all the while Richie Mo'unga continued performing at a high level in Japan. Now everything has changed. His 3-year stint with Toshiba Brave Lupus has come to an end. He's back in New Zealand. But returning home wasn't as simple as immediately pulling on an All Blacks jersey. Instead, another hurdle remained. Before becoming eligible again, Richie Mo'unga first had to return to Provincial rugby. That's why his selection for Canterbury's opening NPC match against Auckland is such a massive moment. He's been named on the replacements bench. For many players, a place on the bench in a provincial competition wouldn't generate national headlines. For Richie Mo'unga, it's one of the biggest rugby stories in New Zealand. Because once he takes the field, he satisfies the final requirement under New Zealand Rugby's eligibility process. Suddenly, conversations inside the All Blacks camp become very different. Of course, there was another obstacle along the way. After returning from Japan, Richie Mo'unga spent time recovering from a calf injury. Supporters wondered whether his comeback would be delayed. Fortunately for Canterbury and potentially for the All Blacks, he's now fully fit. The excitement around Christchurch has been building ever since. This won't simply be another provincial appearance. It will mark Richie Mo'unga's first NPC match since 2020. That's a long time away from New Zealand's domestic rugby environment. Speaking ahead of his return, Richie Mo'unga made something very clear. For him, rugby is still about enjoying the game. He explained that whether he's playing in Christchurch or Japan, it's still rugby. He described himself as someone who constantly wants to improve and compete at the highest possible level. That mindset explains why he's remained one of the world's elite playmakers for so many years. Great players rarely lose their hunger. And Richie Mo'unga clearly hasn't. Then came perhaps the biggest statement of the week. When reporters asked Dave Rennie whether Richie Mo'unga could still be added to the All Black squad for the upcoming Greatest Rivalry Tour to South Africa, the answer wasn't no. Instead, Dave Rennie admitted there's a chance. That single sentence immediately reignited speculation across New Zealand. The head coach explained that once Richie Mo'unga plays for Canterbury, he becomes available if injuries create an opening at fly half. Think about what that means. One injury. One unexpected setback. And suddenly Richie Mo'unga could be flying to South Africa. That's how quickly international rugby can change. Squads are never completely settled. Opportunities often appear when nobody expects them. The timing couldn't be more fascinating. The Greatest Rivalry Tour promises some of the toughest rugby imaginable. South Africa remains one of the most physically demanding places to play. Every match is intense. Every collision matters. Every tactical decision can decide the result. Having an experienced player like Richie Mo'unga available would give the coaching staff another proven option if circumstances demand it. What's especially impressive is how Richie Mo'unga has approached all the uncertainty. Rather than becoming frustrated or distracted by endless speculation, he's focused on something much simpler: playing good rugby. He admitted that he's considered every possible scenario over the coming months. Would he return to the All Blacks? Would he stay with Canterbury? Would another opportunity appear? In the end, he reached one conclusion. He can't control any of those outcomes. The only thing he can control is his performance. That attitude says a lot about the kind of professional Richie Mo'unga has become. Elite athletes understand that worrying about things beyond their control only wastes valuable energy. Instead, preparation becomes everything. Play well. Stay healthy. Be ready. And when opportunity knocks, answer it. Canterbury's squad also includes two other players with All Blacks connections. Jamie Hanna, the promising lock who recently made his international debut against France in Christchurch, continues to build his reputation. Many supporters believe he's part of the next generation of New Zealand forwards. Also in the squad is Dallas McLeod, a one-test All Blacks utility back who is preparing for a new chapter with Exeter Chiefs after Canterbury's NPC campaign concludes. Together, these players highlight just how much talent continues to flow through Canterbury rugby. But if we're honest, the spotlight remains firmly fixed on Richie Mo'unga. Every pass, every kick, every attacking move, every decision. Fans and selectors alike will be watching closely. Can he immediately rediscover the rhythm that made him one of the world's finest number 10s? Can he prove that time spent in Japan has sharpened rather than diminished his game? Those questions will begin to receive answers very soon. The broader discussion is equally fascinating. Modern rugby is becoming increasingly global. Players move overseas more often than ever before. Competitions around the world continue to grow stronger. National unions constantly face difficult choices about balancing domestic development with selecting their very best players. New Zealand's approach has always been designed to strengthen rugby at home. But every time a superstar like Richie Mo'unga returns, those debates naturally become louder. Whatever side of that discussion you support, there's no denying one thing. Seeing Richie Mo'unga back playing in New Zealand is exciting for rugby fans. His creativity has always brought something special to the game. His return instantly raises the quality of the NPC, and it potentially strengthens the options available to the All Blacks. Now everything comes down to what happens next. Canterbury against Auckland suddenly becomes much more than an ordinary provincial fixture. It becomes the beginning of what could be one of the biggest comeback stories in New Zealand rugby. Will Richie Mo'unga force his way back into international contention? Will injuries open the door for a late call-up? Or will this simply be the first step in rebuilding toward an even bigger future with the All Blacks? Only time will tell. But one thing is absolutely certain. The rugby world will be watching every minute. If you enjoyed this update and want more breaking All Blacks news, in-depth rugby analysis, transfer updates and exclusive stories from across New Zealand rugby, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest coverage. And now we want to hear from you.